to be with Adrian Day, president of Adrian Day Asset Management here in New York at the Minds and Money Conference. Adrian, thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me.
So let's talk about the fact that gold hasn't gone up as much as people have predicted. What is your response to that?
Well, you know, I think people always expect gold to go up more than it does.
Right.
And people have rather optimistic expectations, so they're always disappointed. You know, if we're looking at the geopolitical experiences we've had recently in Korea, most recently, before that, the bombing of Syria, gold tends to go up in geopolitical incidents when there's progression, when you have something and then it gets worse and then it gets worse, number one. And number two, it tends to go up when those geopolitical events will have an impact on the global economy.
Right.
I don't want to name any countries, but you know, if something happens in XYZ country but has no oil, no impact on the economy,
right,
it has no impact on gold.
Right.
But the most important factor, Rachel, is geopolitical events have an impact when gold is already strongly moving
and going up. Right.
And those of us who are old enough to remember, you're not, but if you remember the Iran hostage situation in 1980, gold boomed to $850. But it was already in a very strong gold market, having gone up from like $100 in 1976 to $700 in 1979. It was already in a strong market.
Right.
And so I think people's expectations are always a little too optimistic.
Right, and from your perspective, you know, the 100 days of Donald Trump's administration has passed and gone. What do you expect from his administration now?
Well, you know, it's interesting. We're seeing a few things. We're seeing, certainly on the economic front, I think we're seeing some, in my view, positive goals, like cut taxes, simplify taxes, cut regulation, particularly for small business. You know, cut government spending. Some of these things, objectives, are positive.
Right.
But clearly, there's not much of a philosophy behind it. And so things get a little bit sort of convoluted sometimes. You look at cutting spending. I mean, the problem is that you've only got about 70% of a federal budget is either entitlements or military. Well, if he wants to increase military spending, and you can't cut entitlements without a separate law, not through a budget process, you've got very little to work with. We've already seen how these things get, Obamacare, the budget got bogged down in Congress.
Right.
So he's going to have a very difficult time getting some of these positive objectives, what I think are positive objectives on the economy. He's going to have a difficult time actually getting them done.
Right. Now moving on, let's talk about the fact that the GDXJ is going through a rebalancing.
Yes.
Small caps have taken a beating. What is in your opinion, solutions for this?
Well, for an investor, you know, try to take advantage of it. So when some of these smaller cap stocks get taken out of a GDXJ, or they get sharply reduced in a GDXJ, look at good quality companies that you actually want to buy at that point.
Right.
And you know, there's GDXJ, of course, VanEck hasn't said exactly what they're doing, but the pointers are pretty clear. So if you look at a company like B2Gold, for example, or a company like Osisko Mining, they've both been weak, and I suspect that when the rebalancing is actually done, they'll be even weaker. We'll use that as an opportunity to buy.
Right.
And there are other juniors as well that don't have these problems. Sprott has a junior, SGDJ is the symbol, and their methodology is different from the VanEck, the GDX.
Right.
So they're not subject to this turmoil, at least at the moment.
Right. Now, is there a stock pick that you have that you can recommend for us at this time in the small cap space?
Yeah, there's lots of stocks I like. Well, it depends what you call small cap. I mean, I like Osisko Gold that I just mentioned. Oh, wow, that's about 1040. Very good value, lots of potential, weak because of a GDX. You know, I like several of the smaller cap. Pretium, I don't know if you call that smaller cap. Pretium, I think, is a very good buy right now. And in silver, Fortuna. Fortuna is around $4.40 US. That's been weak because of some SEC investigation. little bit arcane to go into. There's no accusation of fraud.
Right.
It's going to go away. Take advantage of the opportunity.
Right.
And then among really small caps, for people who like the really small caps, I tend to focus more on prospect generators, joint venture companies. So I like Midland, which is a Quebec-based company, very strong balance sheet. Evrim, based in or focused on Mexico,
Okay.
with some very strong joint ventures.
Very good.
Riverside, RRI, that's about 45 cents right now, Canadian.
Right.
No one particular project at the moment, but looks as though it's going to be a catalyst, but just a very good team with a good balance sheet doing very disciplined work. And that applies, frankly, to all three of the companies I just mentioned. And I like to invest with companies. You know, I'm not betting on the next drill hole play. I'm betting on a company with a disciplined approach, doing the right thing,
Right.
and eventually being successful.
Right. Well, Adrian, thank you for the swap picks and your insight today.
Thank you.
To learn more from experts like Adrian, you can go to smallcappower.com to watch our other conference videos.